Good evening, everybody. So this is another addition to a OC, bit of an introduction type of thing. So this is Raiel. He's like basically the big guy, that you see in every group. So, I'm adding into the cliche-ness of like having some big guy, but so he's one of the oldest ones as well. The strongest one, so we got Rotongo. He's like the fastest one who they got different powers. So like Rotongo, he has like limitless or probably about infinite speed, but he can get stronger as the fight goes on when it comes to combat between other spiritual beings. But we're talking Raiel is kind of the switched, so he's got like limitless or boundless strength, but can get faster as a conflict can go on. And all of you guys are usually beyond anything that any mortal thing in the universe, except for God, of course, can handle. But so when I draw him, he's like more of like a square face, like the typical Chad type of look, like very strong features, because it's all about strength with this guy. So he's got like the cheekbones and the big square jawline. I usually draw him the really big muscles and usually like a very intimidating face, because if you talk to me about fighting, I really think that size does matter most of the time when we're talking about roughly equal grounds here, because like what's the point in having a really big body if it's not stronger than somebody else? But like real life, it does matter, and fiction, I don't know, I get tired of this so much that it's like, even in fiction, I always think that it's still stupid when people make the big person always lose in a, albeit if it's a purely physical fight. It's still stupid when I see that. I don't know, that's like, it's a hill I'll die on. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever going to convince me otherwise, but at other times, Raiel can look more similar by having a more neutral expression in the eyes. With his nose, it's relatively thin and straight, and a bit more, like in the front view, it's a bit more noticeable, depending on if he's looking a little bit to the right or left. But he's, I don't want to get too stereotypical, as in like with how they act usually, but like he can definitely get the job done when he needs to. He isn't like it's a big softy, but like when there's something that needs to be done, he does it. So like he could be relatively quiet. I kind of see myself a little bit sometimes with the characters I make, like if I'm a bit more hyper sometimes, because Rotongo's like the funny one, because he's the faster one, so I guess it like, ADHD or something, or being hyper or whatever. I don't know. It's all pretty stereotypical, but I did watch a lot of shows when I was young, and I think it kind of just makes sense either way. But during fights, Raiel is actually more comfortable with fighting, since he's actually like kind of superior body type for that. But Rotongo usually doesn't actually joke around when it comes to any type of combat scenario. Whoops, I did cross-eyed. But since Raiel actually does the joking around during combat, since he's actually more comfortable with it, he's kind of like a little bit of a teacher when it comes to certain things. But it depends on what things are being taught here and there. So I kind of see him as like the father-ish, whatever. Slightly more responsible in more things than not compared to the other two. But they're all like super old though, since they're immortal, being Elohim and all that. But it's just something that I have to just willingly put in, even if it does kind of sound like it doesn't make sense, because it's just like, well, I'm making it sound like a story either way, so it's like, I don't know, like, sometimes when people write stories about immortal beings, it's like, nobody really has a choice but to just, like, humanize it a little bit, because it's like, what else can we do? Because there's certain things that we're just never going to know about. So, you know, we can only do stuff that's unoriginal or has been done before. There's new things that you can do, but albeit it'll probably just be a pretty minor thing. But I don't know. That's just my thoughts right now. But here I'm just doing some practices with a view from the back, at different angles. Yeah, so definitely a very stacked guy, just to represent different physical qualities that people and animals you can usually specialize in, because like Raiel can represent also like any animal that uses the tank build or something like that, you know, like the big animals like sauropods, elephants, paraceratheres, ankylosaurs, stuff like that. And then speedy builds, like any animal or anybody, they always like find whatever works for them, and that's how the lineage goes about that. And then they find what works, like finding in the niche. But yeah, so when I draw Raiel a lot, I usually try to make an intimidating looking face. I've been looking like a lot of gorillas and synapsids like the Ankylosaurus, paleo art like the T-Rex, and different styles of people to look at it. Dragons, since I fucking love dragons, you know, How to Train a Dragon, shit like that. So yeah, and then a little bit of Disney, I think, which people can probably tell with like the eyebrows and the eyes and stuff like that. Yeah, so a very in command, not to be trifled with type of guy who isn't like mean. It's just a role that needs to be taken. No sense to overcomplicate it, but you know, yeah, and like a lot of cats too, like lions, Lion King, and basically just studying different ways that people have drawn cats, because I'm pretty sure cats are also everywhere in the anime, which I have also looked at. Now hold on. I do it in a relatively unique, original type of way. I'm just trying to do whatever, but come on. Give me one credit, one slack. Yeah, but sometimes it's hard to draw bodies really different when you are having them all be the same, basically. But like, especially when you're talking about like different angles and stuff, it's like I draw a Rotongo at a different angle, or like Rotongo when he's like all charged up, ready to fight, and it's like, how can I make it look really different from Raiel, who needs to have clear differences, but sometimes they can end up looking very similar. So it can be pretty challenging, but you know, I don't have money for art classes, so I'm gonna have to get that. Here's another one. I like to draw him in fighting stances just to practice. So I start off really rough because I don't know, like people got talent, but like, I don't know, sometimes when people do stuff and then they don't do that much work compared to their final project, that's just something I don't know if I can do. But like, it is impressive though. A lot of cool artists out there, I take a lot of inspiration, so it's cool to have them. So yeah, this is just the typical about to get punched pose. Just working with anatomy and all that. Rawr. what if I just stood here for like 2 minutes saying nothing? How about that, huh? So yeah, so I do those eyes all the time. But you know, that's probably pretty played out. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. Because everybody does the same thing. I guess it was pretty unique when people would draw those, you know, like all those skeletons, biker skeletons, fire eyeballs or whatever, or like the eyeballs without the pupil, because I guess it just always makes it look interesting or whatever. Whatchamacallit. So yeah, these feathered ear like things on them basically act the same as like regular ears, like when it's getting ready to attack, or if it's angry, it's usually put back, or like if it's or disturbed or offended or something like that, because these guys talk, of course, so they would have the ears that can move in any which way that reflects any human emotion given at the time. Makes you wonder, like, how do you think would beings that are super smart communicate? Like, if they had movable giant ears, there'd be so many jokes, there'd be so many different ways of decorating them, so many different social cues about them. It's pretty interesting, just besides the OMG, it's toothless type of thing. I don't know, I'm guilty of this as well, like the toothless, holy crap, ear thing. But I try to have it be a bit different, because they technically only have 2 ears, but they're just highly specialized, so that's my excuse for having it be looking like toothless. But, and then I got my other alien race too, that also has feathers, or feather-like covering on them, that also coincidentally looks like an ear, because I just apparently need to do that every time. I don't know, it's like, I know that I have this cliche problem of, because everyone else keeps doing the same thing. Like, you see this everywhere, like people doing this multiple ears thing. It's like, no judgments, because I'm also guilty, but you know, it's also cool to, like, you know, give it a little touch of something that's original. So I don't know, but you know, there you be. But yeah, I've recently been looking at my rough sketches, and then you just do the opacity and then draw over it, just to refine and get like a good doodle on top, so that you have something to as a base to work on. And I've been practicing this with my drawings as well. I've been going online a bit and just learning how to do it a bit better. Sometimes it's hard, because when I rest my hand, I really need to get a glove or something if my hand is going to keep resting on the screen, because it always does that. But you know, yeah, so there he is. So these guys, I think I said this before, but they have the koala-like hands. So they have like 2 prehensile thumbs and then 3, which I think is actually good for making a fist, because you got 2 fingers that can help in keeping that ball-like structure there, and then 3 larger fingers that can withstand more rigidity or trauma to the bones, if I'm thinking about it realistically. But again, I feel like I could make every excuse in the book to just like, oh well, they're Elohim, they're spiritual beings, they can just do whatever the fuck they want. But it's like, I don't know, like when I see other people's comics and I see how ridiculous these body proportions get, and it's like, yeah, I know there is an excuse to have it look different, but like, damn, dude, I mean, like it just looks so funny sometimes, especially when you see Hulk, because it's like, yeah, he's got radiation, but it's like, it's not like he changes his species, because he's still a person. It's just, he's basically just a big green person, big buff green person. So it's like, it's not like that changes But I don't know, it's like, it's just the radiation mythicizing or whatever. So, not too big of a deal. May or may not be up to scale, since they can change their size, depending on which planet they may be on, or which peoples or beings they may be talking to or having counsel with. And then their feet look pretty similar, especially if you look at like certain macropods like kangaroos and wallabies. They have very interesting feet, and it kind of reminds you of a chicken, which is interesting because, you know, a bit of a convergent type of adaptation here for, yeah, like theropods, kangaroo, theropod type of feet. / frog, because I really like the concept of them jumping a lot, because, you know, Gigantifrog was like the character that split and then became my 3 characters that I have, the cherubim. So yeah, and I had other drawings that I was working on too. There's another one, just practicing with like a pose or an angle with a different expression on his face. Yeah, I recently found a pencil that I really like. It's the, what was it called? The Jakarta? I might be messing up the name. Oh yeah. Yeah, so it's this guy. That's the guy. The big guy. This is one of my first animations. I definitely changed my style since then. And that's also an older one. So yep, that's Raiel. The big guy. There he is. I really like that one. I like the expression. I usually have them do that face all the time with their mouth. It's because they're like peeved whenever they're talking to insufferable fallen angels. Those fucking bitches, I fucking hate them. Average angel reaction. Well, thank you for looking if you stayed this long. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you soon.